Are we ready? It says I've been on here for 5 seconds, but I still don't see that I've popped up on the screen on my phone. So I'm just waiting to see if I have picture before I really start talking about this. And there we are. Okay, so this is Panthor Man from the Masters Universe X Thundercats line. I've had this figure for a while. I pre-ordered it off of Big Bad Toy Store, and for whatever reason, they were dragging their feet on getting it forever. And then they bumped it up by like $5 because of tariffs, which I don't buy necessarily. like that. That seems kind of sus to me. Anyway, they still had him for like the original price on Amazon for pre-order, and I said, screw it. I'm tired of waiting around on Big Bad Toy Store to finally send this thing. I want to ship my pile of loot now. I'm just gonna pre-order on Amazon and cancel the Big Bad Toy Store one and not worry about it. So if you want this guy, he actually still is on Big Bad Toy Store right now, and still for like $5 more than he really ought to be. But it's better than paying like I think the one on Amazon now is like 30. So anyway, here's the artwork on the back. Some really nice artwork of Panthor. There's a little bio on here that reads, "Not all Thundercats are good, as Panthor Man finds an ally in Skeletor in his plans to overthrow Lion-O as Lord of the Thundercats." And something I've never noticed before, and I didn't even notice reading the backs of the other ones, which you would think I would have noticed, but Thundercats is spelled with a capital C at cats. Had no idea that that it was spelt that way. And you can attach the claws to the wrists. And I did bring Battle Cat Man over so we could compare and check that out. I felt like he needed a weapon other than those claws, so I decided to print him out a sword. And this is if anybody wants to copy my idea, this is the Mega Customs X Warduke sword. I just printed it out in some metallic burgundy plastic, and it looks pretty nice. That's PLA. So yeah, it looks thought I should ship my pile. Yeah. Yeah, ship with a P. Yeah. So but anyway, this figure is pretty much a straight up repaint of Battle Cat Man, which is to be expected because, Panthor, traditionally is a repaint of Battle Cat. I mean, sometimes they'll give him a new head or something like that, but the original Battle Cat, the original Panthor was repainted from Battle Cat and then flocked. And then I think the 2000X was an entirely new sculpt for Panthor, which is something they could have saved some money on. They wanted to try to avoid repaints in 2000X, and I think the only times they did like repaints other than He-Man and Skeletor was like, I think they did Merman. Like they wanted to avoid repainting old characters into new characters is what I'm saying. Like they do a repaint of like He-Man or Merman or Skeletor as those characters. They did too many of those, I think. But I would rather see a Beast Man repainted into Moss Man or a Merman repainted into Stinkor than see a Merman repainted into another Merman. At least that's something a little more creative. Although I don't think 2000X, I don't think that sculpt of Merman would have translated very well into Stinkor. If they would have had to have done a new sculpt of Stinkor anyway. So I do like the artwork here. We can see that Panthor is kind of massive. Forgive me again with Battle Cat if I just call this character Panthor rather than Panthor Man. If I forget to throw the man part in there. So, and the thing is, like, I don't think throwing man into the characters' names is part of Thundercats naming convention anyway. I can't offhand think of any Thundercats characters. Out of the actual Thundercats. Obviously, some of the like Jackal Man, Vulture Man. You had that with the bad guys, but he wasn't Lion Man. He was Lion-O. He wasn't Panther Man. He was Panthro. He wasn't Tiger Man. Tiger Man's a Galaxy Warriors character, so they would have been ripping that off. Oh yeah, and they did Tiger Man way before Thundercats was even a thing. So anyway, let's go ahead and open them up and we can compare. So I think I've told this story before when I opened up the Origins Panthor figure, is that my grandmother, who spoiled me rotten, she bought Panthor for me as a surprise, and I came over to her house one day and she had that ready for me, and I hadn't even seen Panthor in the store yet, so I didn't even know that he existed, and I just thought it was so cool. Al Davis says, I used to think the exact same thing about the 80s Secret Wars figures. The arms, the bodies, and legs were swapped around and just molded to different colors, and as a kid I thought that was lazy. Yeah, like that was that's part of the reason why, like, I always say that Superpowers was a way better toy line than Secret Wars. I mean, that's one of many, many reasons. But anyway, so there's the card. It's got the same piece of artwork on the back. No mini comic. It's got a card. And there's the back of it. And it's got the same bio that's on the back of the action figure package. So we're not going to bother to read that. Let's go ahead and take Panthor Man out of the package. And he is not flocked, by the way. They tend to not flock Panthor these days, since it's more expensive to do that way, I guess. They want to try to save some money. And they did do a flock version of Origins Panthor, but I never got around to getting it. I just have the regular one. Do I have my snips where I can get them? Are they over at the over next to my 3D printer? Are they over here? Where did I put my snips? I don't even know where my snips are at. Let's see. There they are. They're just kind of in an awkward place. Let's see. Go ahead and get these off of here. But the first Secret Wars figure I got was Captain America, because it was the first one that I found. And honestly, if there'd been other figures over there, like Captain America would have been my second choice after Spider-Man. But I certainly would have taken him over Iron Man or Wolverine or any of the villains. I always liked Captain America. But when I was a kid, Spider-Man was definitely my favorite Marvel superhero. And the Incredible Hulk was my second favorite. And I'm always shocked that Mattel never made a Secret Wars Hulk figure, and I know that would have required extra molding. They wouldn't have been able to reuse parts for the Hulk. But, I mean, they could have used those Hulk parts for other big figures, like, you know, they could have done, like, Juggernaut or something like that. But, I mean, the Hulk was, like, a really popular character at that time. Like, I know the show had just gone off the air. It wasn't on CBS anymore. But there was 5 years worth of reruns that, you know, us kids were still watching after school. And, you know, Saturday and Sunday mornings, they'd show them. And I'm sure there was other times of it. But, you know, I always loved the Hulk. As time went on, Captain America grew in my esteem, and eventually Captain America wound up becoming my most favorite Marvel superhero. But when I was a kid, it was definitely Spider-Man, and then the Hulk was my second favorite. So there is Panthor Man out of the package, and I'm going to take off his helmet. Panthor did not come with a helmet for whatever reason. Not sure why. I don't think it would have cost him that much money to mold a Panthor helmet, because I'm pretty sure that they ran all of Battlecat's armor off of the same mold. So they probably just blocked off the helmet part of the mold when they ran the saddle, and Panthor did not have a helmet. And I don't think it would have cost them that much money to, you know, make a helmet for him. They probably just decided, this is my speculation, I think they probably figured, we're flocking this figure, we want to show off the flock, so let's just not bother with a helmet. He's got to have a saddle so Skeletor can sit on him, but Anyway, so there he is without the helmet, and he's got like just yellow eyes. So help me God, yellow eyes. And there's no pupil, there's no iris. It's just a solid yellow eye. Now with Battle Cat, take his helmet off too. Battle Cat has I don't think I mentioned this when I opened up the figure, but he has very highly detailed eyes. These are ridiculously detailed eyes for an Origins figure. Like, not only does it have an iris and a pupil and the whites of the eyes and the eyelash. I don't know if eyelash is the right term, but you know how like tigers have like that kind of black area around their eyelid. He's got that going on. They went all out painting Battle Cat's eyes, and his eyes look really cool. And I don't remember if I mentioned that when I did my Battle Cat unboxing, and if I didn't, that was remiss of me. But yeah, I don't want to sell that figure short on the amazing job they did painting in Battle Cat's eyes. But Panthor gets none of that. It's just a yellow dot. That's it. He doesn't even have like a darker purple, around the eye to look like an eyelid. It's just, and then he's got something unusual for Panthor is they did give him kind of like a lavender over the muzzle you see here over his snout. So he's got a lighter color snout. Most of the time they just Panthor's just got a purple head. They painted his nose. Like most of the time, usually they don't even paint in Panthor's nose. He's just got a purple nose, purple snout, all that stuff. But here they did give him a little more detail. And then he's got gunmetal gray armor with this kind of gradiated bat shape on it. And I believe that's supposed to be an homage to the bat that's on Skeletor's armor, which occasionally is colored green or yellow. And so this is kind of yellow to green. Al Davis says, I missed a bunch of chats. Totally agree. No Hulk and Juggernaut was a mistake in the Secret Wars line. I thought I dreamed Pride of the X-Men when it wasn't included in the original 90s X-Men series. No, it was real. I had the VHS of it. I had to buy it on VHS, which was, like that was the only way to watch it back then. You probably find it on YouTube these days. And then says, I might get one of those figures to custom into Battle Beast from Invincible. Well, there you go. What I don't remember what color Battle Beast is. If it might be cheaper if you just want this mold, it might be cheaper to get Battle Cat. Plus Pride of the X-Men has incredible animation. I'm happy it wasn't a dream I had. Yeah, that one I think was like, in terms of animation, it was way better than the 90s X-Men cartoon wound up being. But in terms of like, the writing and the story, I don't think that Pride of the X-Men was written to be an actual story. I think it was written to be a showcase for the characters. It is a pilot after all. So like that's why there's so many characters in it, and like all the characters seem to get at least one moment to shine. That's why Juggernaut is a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, even though Juggernaut is not a mutant. I'm pretty sure if it had gone to series, they probably would have explained that and said, look, Juggernaut's just here because he hates Chuck. That's the whole reason. He hates his brother Chuck, so that's why he's teamed up with us. Battle Beast is cream white with a red and black tunic. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it might be if you just want the mold. If you just want the mold, it might be a little cheaper to get Battle Cat than Panthor, man. But I'm sure you'll figure that out yourself when you do the research. And who knows, you might be able to find whichever one for cheaper. So for whatever it's worth, and this will probably be helpful with custom, these gauntlets, I believe they are removable. So there you go. You can take those off. And, of course, the armor, the shoulders, and the breastplate, it's all removable in the way that Masters Universe stuff generally is. But then he's still got like the He-Man type boots around the shins. So those are molded to the figure. Everything else you can take off. And you already saw that I took off the helmet. So, and then he comes apart at the middle, and you can take the loincloth off, and he's just got kind of a black Speedo underneath. So that's how that works. Anyway, Go ahead and put that onto him. Most of his armor is like this cool metallic green, which I think is like a really cool, really good color for Panthor's armor, since that's pretty similar to the saddle that the original Panthor came with. Like with Battle Cat Man, Panthor Man, it's a slightly more metallic color than we're used to seeing on the saddle, but it looks really cool. Like that to me, that's a good look for him. I'm gonna leave the helmet off. I'm not gonna put the helmet back onto him. Well, I mean, I will put the helmet back onto him just for so we can get one more shot of it. But I'm not gonna display him with the. I'm glad they gave you the helmet, so you've got the display options. But I'm not gonna leave the helmet on my Battle Cat, or I'm sorry, on my Panthor, since the original Panthor didn't have a helmet. I might have left the helmet on him if they'd given him a a new design for the helmet that was more based on the classics Panthor helmet where he had the ram horns, because I do think that one's really cool. But oh well. And then Panthor's weapons are these claw weapons, just like Battle Cat had, that just kind of snap onto his hands like that. There's no handle; they just kind of snap on at the sides of his hands, and I feel like they don't stay on as well as ideally I would like. I think it would have been better if they'd have put handles on there. But like I said, I wound up with Battle Cat thinking to myself that I would much rather he had like some other kind of weapon. That Battle Cat Man really just needed a sword, so that was why I printed out that sword for him. So I'll probably print out some other kind of weapon for Panthor Man. Maybe another sword, maybe an axe or a mace or something like that. I got the clawful mace over here. Let's see what he looks like with the mace. That's not too bad. Maybe a mace might be the way to go. I don't know. So anyway, let's talk about his articulation real quick. So Panthor Man can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quickly from side to side, rotate the head all the way around. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around the shoulders, and they raise up to the sides about that far. Now, he does have these shoulder pieces on there, but those don't seem to be interfering with the movement of the shoulders too much. I'm pretty sure that's just as far as the shoulders can move up. Anyway, he's got a single joint of articulation at the elbow that bends in about that far, about 90 degrees, and then that rotates all the way around. And then he's got wrist articulation. The wrists rotate all the way around, and then they have a horizontal hinge on them, so they move back and forth like so. And these gauntlets, like I mentioned before, they are removable, and they can spin around, so you can get them into pretty much whatever position you want to get those into relative to his hands. Panthor can rotate all the way around at the waist. I almost said Battle Cat, man. And then I want to say Panthor, so I still technically got his name wrong. Al Davis suggests a massive curved scimitar, and that's a very good suggestion. I can maybe give him the 300 type sword or something like that. Maybe a sword, maybe an axe, maybe a mace, maybe a couple of weapons. He's got two hands. He can dual wield. Why not? But yeah, he can only kick up about that far. He's very muscle bound. Panthor Man can do the splits no problem. Not all the way, but he can do about a 90-degree split there. He ain't no Jean-Claude Van Damme, I'll tell you that. You got a single joint of articulation at the knee, doesn't quite bend 90 degrees, and then that rotates all the way around. You got a boot cut, so the boot rotates all the way around. His leg fell off. I dropped his leg. Fell off, and it landed in my desk and like a big pile of stuff, and it knocked a bunch of stuff on the floor. Now there's Raphael's headband tie that I left up there. So yeah, I accidentally popped his leg off, which normally the Origins legs don't come off too easily, so I'm really surprised about that. Or spiky hammer. The great thing about having a 3D printer is I could just print him, I could just print him an entire arsenal of weapons, like really anything I want. And but I do want his weapons to be in this metallic green. I think that's a really cool color, and if I can find filament that's that color, that would be really cool. Because I already had the this filament, which I feel like is a really good that kind of burgundy. It's kind of a good Battle Cat red, and it already, like I said, it's like a silk so it already had that kind of sheen to it, like his armor has. So I feel like it fits in really well. So, but yeah, I still got a little bit more articulation to talk about. Battle Cat Man's, I did it again. Panthor Man's foot can point down about that far, point up about that far, and then his foot rotates all the way around. So that is about the extent of the range of motion that this guy gets, which is pretty typical Masters Universe Origins articulation. So it's about par for course as far as that goes. So we got Skeletor here. So we can see him in scale with that's a cartoon collection figure. And you can see that he's a little bit taller and a little bit bulkier. Any of the cartoon collection figures are taller anyway. And we might as well go ahead and have Skeletor mount Panthor Man. I don't think it works as well when I'm humanoid, boss. Shut up and run! And to see him next to a regular Origins figure, here he is next to Keldor, and you can see he's quite a bit taller than Keldor and a bit more bulky as well. So that's what he looks like next to a standard Masters of the Universe Origins figure. But yeah, the Thundercats figures tend to use smaller bucks for these characters anyway. They use like the same size torso as the 2000X cartoon collections. They're a bit leaner, and I figure that was probably done because the Thundercats characters are genuinely drawn as being a bit leaner than the Masters of the Universe characters are. But I kind of feel like still they should have given He-Man himself like the bulkier torso at least, and maybe like Lion-O and Tigra. It makes sense to have him on the smaller body, but He-Man still needs to be pretty buff. And of course, Panthro, he's got the larger body like this one. So man, I should have brought Panthro over here so I could compare them, since they're both Panther characters. But you know, he's an evil Panther. Panthro's a good Panther. So, and then you can see like they gave him the gunmetal gray for the breastplate. Oh, damn it, Butterfingers. They gave him the gunmetal gray for the breastplate, and then he's got the just kind of regular matte gray for the fur of his trunks and boots, because I guess they had to make him some color. So gray is a good neutral color, and I guess that does work really well with again with Battle Cat Man, who has silver for his armor. And then he's got brown for his loincloth and boots. But he's supposed to be aligned with He-Man. So it makes sense that he has brown for his loincloth and boots, because He-Man has a brown loincloth and brown boots. So like it gives him like a unifying color of them. And you can't really do that with Panthor Man. Like you can't give him a purple loincloth and boots because he's already got purple fur on the rest of his body. And that would just look kind of gross. Keldor has Ming the Merciless from Defenders of the Earth. Defenders. Which was done as the one with Lothar, Phantom. Yeah, I've got all those. Well, I don't have all of those. I do have all of those. Because I did manage to get the Ice Warrior guy later on. I got one loose for really cheap. But that Ming figure is my favorite of the NECA Ming figures. I really like that one. He's really cool looking. Well, I mean, he's one of my favorites. I don't know I think I got him around here somewhere. The one they recolored to be the movie version. It's not really the movie version, but they recolored him to be movie version. I thought I had him around here somewhere. Maybe he's over here in this stack of stuff. I could have sworn I'd seen him very recently. And that one's pretty much like a reworking of a lot of those pieces anyway. I've still got all these Ninja Turtle boxes I got to do something with. One of these days, I've got to get organized. So, somewhere around here, I had that Ming figure. And I don't know what I did with it. So I could have held him on. This guy. Here he is. I found him. I knew he was over here somewhere. I knew I'd seen him somewhere. Yeah, this one. This one might be my favorite Ming figure. I don't know. It's either this one or the Defenders of the Earth figure. And like I said, they use a lot of the same parts because they got that big collar and that one's really cool. I like that one. But yeah, I mean, like you can see, I've got the Mattel homage vintage card figures back there, and those are figures. I really love those NECA Flash Gordon figures, and I bought extras of these because I found them cheap on eBay, and I just wanted to have, like, because the packaging on those is so beautiful, and I felt bad. Normally, I don't feel bad opening up an action figure, but those I felt bad opening up the action figure because the packaging is to me part of the appeal of those, and they were so beautiful. But I'm like, hey, if I can get these for cheap, then I've got some that I can display on my wall. And you know who did the artwork on the packaging for those old Mattel vintage Flash Gordon figures? Mark Taylor. Yes, the man who designed He-Man and Skeletor and all those guys in the first place, like the entire first line of figures. He designed all of those. So when he was working at Mattel, before he did He-Man, he drew up that Flash Gordon package. Man, his leg came off again. His leg is like super loose. As far as like coming, like check it out. Like if I try to take this guy's leg off like that, like I gotta put like real effort into it. But Panthor Man's leg just comes right off. This Battle Cat Man, he seems to like. I seem to have to put effort into those. So Al Davis says, like I said about the Batman Bullseye McFarlane White figure that I'm customizing into Mark Millar's Nemesis, I have another to turn into the Phantom. Yeah, I need to make a. I was thinking about doing it. I need to make a Masters scale Phantom. I think he would look really cool in the Origins style. But I can't use this guy because he's too big. I'm gonna have to figure out another one to use. It's too bad they never made an Origins version of Spector, Mighty Spector. And I know a lot of people would be like, no, don't make Scott Knight like self-insert character. but I would buy two just so I could make one to the Phantom. Al Davis says, love the Max von Sydow wig. The Ming, sorry, I don't know why I said wig. The soft goods work really well for that figure. Yeah, like and it's one of those things where, like, I don't think they had the actors' likeness rates at the time they did these, so it doesn't look any. They just reused one of the other Ming heads that they already had. But he looked enough like the character looked in the comic strip. I kind of feel like it still works. This one works a lot better than the Flash Gordon figure, which the comic strip Flash Gordon does not translate into the movie version as well as the Defenders of the Earth Ming translates into the movie Ming. But they probably took some influence from the Max von Sydow version in the Defenders cartoon anyway. So Al Davis says the Batman Bullseye McFarlane figure is a great base figure, not very popular, so I have a few to play with. Yeah, he was from that Rainbow Batman story, like back in the Silver Age. But since he's not an actual Rainbow Batman, I think he got kind of overlooked. But if you were trying to get all the Rainbow Batman figures, that technically is one of them. So you would want to have him with the rest of them. Unfortunately, they put that figure out well before they were doing the actual Rainbow Batman figures. And so they didn't have the Dick Sprang type Batman head to play around with. So he's just kind of, I think, like he's got like a standard Nightfall Batman head, right? I think that's what he has. I think that's what that one has. But yeah, that was a nice looking figure, but I never got around to getting him. Maybe I should look online and see if I can find one for a good price on the aftermarket. So anyway, I think that's it for Panthor Man. It's a really nice figure, and like I said, he's a little more expensive now because I don't think that this wave of figures was as well distributed as the first couple of waves of figures. And if I had some advice, just some not financial, this is not financial advice. People love to say that on YouTube. But my collector advice would be try to get this wave of figures, because I think in the long run, this third wave of Thundercats figures is going to be much more low distributed than the rest of them. So, and I know like my local Walmart still has a ton of Tigra figures. Tigra wound up being like a huge peg warmer for whatever reason. All the other ones flew off the shelves, but Tigra was, it was like, ooh, Panthor, ooh, Cheetah, Chitara, ooh, Lion-O, and grabbed all the rest of them, and like Tigra, for whatever reason, people were like, Tigra, whatever, and just left him there on the shelf, and like so many Tigras were left behind. I never saw Chitara or Panthor past the first time that I saw them, and then Tigra, I just saw him on the shelf forever. And then I think the second biggest peg warmer was He-Man himself, but I kind of feel like that's understandable since you know there's already so many He-Man figures to choose from, and even though I do think that that's a nice He-Man figure, you know, it's not quite as definitive in terms of the look of him as somebody might like. Like the hairstyle is a bit different with the longer hair, and he's displayed with the alternate armor rather than the traditional classic He-Man armor. And he's still, I think, sold pretty well. He sold better than Tigra, at least. But he's still, like, he didn't sell as well as the Thundercats figures. And, like, honestly, he probably would have been, he probably would have been one that, like, I would imagine a layman would just be like, oh, I've already got a He-Man figure. I don't really need this one. So, but Al Davis says, Orko Snart cage match diorama would be hilarious. You know, I'd seen where somebody had recommended what Mattel ought to do, and in hindsight, it's sad that this never happened. And I might wind up trying to make this myself. Actually, is a Snarf Battle Cat mashup, like where Snarf gets turned into Battle Cat. And I thought like that would be funny because, you know, Snarf is like kind of character-wise kind of similar to Cringer, you know, in a lot of ways. I mean, Cringer's way cooler than Snarf. I'm not even gonna lie about that, but they kind of fill that same function. You know what I mean with Cringer and Snarf. So you know, if Lion-O had that merged sort of power and he blasted Snarf with it, like how Adam will blast Cringer to turn him into Battle Cat, Battle Snarf. So I might try to make a custom figure of Battle Snarf, just because I did think that was an amusing idea. Anyway, that's it for Panthor Man. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the other fun YouTube stuff down below. I don't know what we're going to do next. I don't know what my next episode is going to be. I haven't decided yet. So I know I've got a lot of 2000X stuff, but I want to save that for a little bit longer. I'm thinking that'll be good stuff to open up once the movie's a little closer. I'm thinking that will be like a good something good to open special for the movie. And I know I've got some other surprises on the way. I don't know exactly when they're going to get here, but I know I got some stuff on the way. And I still got a lot of stuff from my last Big Bad Toy Store order to open. I've got another Big Bad Toy Store order on the way. I've got my orders, the Crimson Moon figures coming. So I've got some of those to open. And it looks like the fourth one got sent into my pile of loot already. I was thinking it was going to take a little longer. If I'd have known it was going to be like that close behind the other ones, I would have waited and just had it all shipped at once. Sonny Anderson is here and says, "Hope you're well, Alan." I'm doing fine. Can't complain. Wouldn't help if I did. I hope you're doing well as well. That was awkward how I phrased that. Al Davis asked if I had any Akira figures, and no, I don't. I do remember back around the turn of the century, back around like 1999 or so, I think it was. McFarlane had made a figure of they made some Akira figures, and they made one of the motorcycle, which I thought was really cool. Top five favorites in different genres, like top five favorite figures in different genres. Okay, so my favorite vintage Masters Universe figure is Battle Armor Skeletor. That's my favorite vintage Masters Universe character. I'm not sure in terms of like the more modern stuff what my favorite is. Like I tend to get to like whatever I have at the moment, and especially with Origins, I can customize a lot of stuff. So let's see. Superheroes. My favorite character is Batman, and I think my favorite recent my favorite Batman figure of the modern era, I think, would be that Norm Brayfogle Batman figure with the gargoyle and the wired cape, and that one was really sweet. That was a McFarlane Toy Store exclusive that I managed to get. I was actually lucky enough to get that one. That's my favorite Batman figure. I don't know. It's a tough call. So I don't know. There's so much cool stuff nowadays. It's hard for me to pick one. If I got to pick one favorite all-time action figure, though, just one, and it's not even the best action figure, but we're talking about my favorite, the one that I have the most love for, is the old 1978 Mego 12-inch Superman action figure that they put out around the time of the movie, and it has the Christopher Reeve looking head. And it's not because it's the best Superman action. It's not the best Superman action figure. It's not because I think it's a particularly good figure, although it is one of the better Mego figures, I think. But I have a lot of nostalgic appreciation for it because it was one of the earliest action figures that I ever owned, and my grandmother bought it for me at the Kmart where she worked. So, but yeah, I tend to think more of like, at this point, because they put out so many versions of these characters, I tend to more think like, what are my favorite characters than actual figures of the characters. And I like buying figures of He-Man and Skeletor as far as Masters Universe goes. I like buying figures of Batman, Superman, Captain America, Spider-Man, pretty much every character that I love of superheroes. But those are ones I tend to go back to the well a lot on Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man, since they tend to put out a lot of really cool figures of those characters. G.I. Joe, like, I like, obviously Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and Cobra Commander. I think my favorite G.I. Joe figure from the vintage line, and this is a really tough call, I really like Destro, the original Destro, and I really like the original Zartan with the Swamp Skier. I think Zartan is probably the best of the vintage G.I. Joe line if I had to pick one. And my favorite good guy in the vintage G.I. Joe line is Lieutenant Falcon. He's not my favorite character. He's not even close to being my favorite character. He might crack the top 10. But but he's my favorite figure of the good guys. He's my favorite action figure. He's one of the best G.I. Joe figures ever made. And I like Shockwave. Shockwave's like, I think, my favorite deep cut character out of G.I. Joe. I really like Shockwave. And I really like Shockwave in G.I. Joe, or in Transformers. Sonny Anderson asks, do you collect any pro wrestling figures? Yeah, but not as many as I used to. Like back during the Attitude Era, I was buying a lot of pro wrestling figures, and now I just kind of buy them occasionally. Like if I see one that I particularly like, mainly because I don't really follow wrestling as much as I used to. But if I see one of my old school favorite wrestlers, but I've got all the not all of them, but I've got as many as I could get of the Masters of the WWE Universe figures, because I really like those, and the WWE Superstars figures, because those are kind of like Masters of the Universe adjacent. So I still buy a lot of those, and in fact, I got this guy back here. This guy's been sitting back here for. I had him on the back of my couch. I had the Scott Hall figure that I got a while back for cheap, and I really wanted to open him up, and haven't gotten around to it yet. And Scott Hall is a dude that I actually met in real life and hung out with him for a little bit, and he bought me pizza. So anytime a professional wrestler, especially one of the caliber of Scott Hall, buys you pizza, that's gonna just like kind of like one of the definitive moments of your life. Maybe that's part of the reason I haven't opened this guy yet. And technically, he was one that was like falling off the package, and they taped him back on. I'm pretty sure all the accessories are still in there and everything. But that was the main reason I really wanted to get the Scott Hall figure, because I have a personal connection to him. Like, I wouldn't say we're like best friends or anything. I'm not trying to name drop, but we hung out once, and he was nice to me, and he's like one of the coolest dudes I ever met in my life. I'd say like Scott Hall and Larry Hama are like the two coolest dudes I've ever met in my entire life. But yeah, so sometime in the future I'll open that one up. And they're coming out with more Masters of the WWE Universe, which got me excited because, like I said, I did love that line of figures. Al Davis says, I'm excited for the new Jada Toys Invincible, but I have more Batman figures than others. Second is Superman. Dude, I tell you, if you collect superhero action figures in general, you're just going to wind up with a ton of Batman action figures, because anytime they do a line of DC figures, Batman is always one of the first ones to do. Yeah, like, okay, so basically what happened is I knew a guy who knew a guy, and they were looking to put together a comic book, and they had gotten in touch with my friend Buddy Finithy, who's a big time G.I. Joe collector. He's a big time collector of like vintage, like we're talking like, you know, Adventure Team and earlier type G.I. Joe. And he was gonna meet up with Scott Hall, so he invited me to come along. And I'm like, okay. I don't know if the comic book ever came to fruition, but we were just sitting there with Scott Hall and Jake the Snake Roberts, who also was a really nice guy, but he was very quiet. He seemed kind of a little more shy and reserved. But Scott Hall is a dude who holds court. So he was telling us all kinds of stories about behind the scenes, and a lot of it's stuff that you've heard before. But there's a big difference between I'm watching a documentary where he's telling the story, or somebody else is telling the story about him, and the man himself is right there in front of you telling the story. And he's a really cool, charismatic dude. And like for example, he told the story of how he'd recommended to Sting that, hey, you should make yourself up to look like the Crow. That sort of thing. And he was a really cool guy. And at the end of the night, he insisted on picking up the tab for the rest of us. So yeah, Scott Hall bought me pizza. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I think I don't have anything else to say about Panthor Man other than he's a cool figure. And if you're collecting Master Universe figures, you should definitely pick him up. He's like I said, you can find him on Big Bad Toy Store right now for a little bit above retail, since they marked him up to $25 for some reason. Tariffs, sure. But it's still, I think, affordable. I think you can still get that. And he's around $30 on Amazon right now. So he's starting to get kind of pricey, but he's not unobtainable yet. So if you're interested in this figure, I'd suggest go ahead and pick him up soon. Like I said, I suspect that this third wave of Thundercats figures is not as well distributed as the first two waves, since it is an entire repaint wave. So there you go. Al Davis says, I'm sure I have a load of G.I. Joe missiles from a couple of different figures, and the 3-level fold-out sand-colored tank base. Yeah, the huge rolling yeah, my cousin had that. I never had that myself, but my cousin had that, and that was a really freaking cool toy. I did enjoy playing with his headquarters. How much is it in dollars? What, Panthor Man? How much is he in dollars? He cost me like $30. I mean, like, he costs about $30 right now, is what I'm saying. I got him for like 20 because I pre-ordered him from Amazon when before it got released, so I was able to get it for retail price. But he's a little bit above retail price now. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the other YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about Panthor Man and the figure specifically, the character in general, how you want to use this guy in your Masters of the universe. That's always awkward. But that's it for this episode. Check if it's in pounds sterling. Well, in pounds, I guess that would be if it's around $30, like 30 US dollars, I guess it would be maybe around 20 pounds, I guess. I think. I don't know, like I don't have a conversion calculator in front of me right now. But yeah, $30 American, so it's probably around 20 pounds, give or take. I think that's usually when I try to figure out pounds versus dollars, I just tend to cut off a third of it because I think that's usually like that's a pretty good ballpark figure in terms of 20 to 25 pounds. Yeah, something like that. It'll be around 20 pounds, I think. So, all right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.